Welcome back, everybody, to the Falkenblick Skill Center, where we build confidence with skills and we build skills with training. Now that you understand how to navigate the map and measure distance and interpret contour lines, you're ready to tackle direction. There are different ways to reference direction, but in this course, we will be focusing on the compass. Over the next 3 blocks, you will learn the anatomy of a compass, how to use a compass to orient a map, how to determine direction between 2 points on a map, and how to use that direction to navigate through the wilderness. So what is a compass? Well, a compass is simply a device that shows us the direction to magnetic north, which in turn shows us every other direction as well. A compass functions by orienting itself with the Earth's magnetic field. That means wherever you stand on the face of the Earth, your compass will attempt to align itself with these fields. Now picture the Earth as having an enormous bar magnet traveling through its core. Remember the old adage that opposites attract? The north pole of one magnet is attracted to the south pole of another. Well, it's this fact that causes the magnetic north pole of the tiny magnet inside your compass to be drawn towards the Earth's magnetic south pole, which, as you can see in this illustration, actually lies in the northern hemisphere of our planet. The Earth's magnetic north and south poles lie opposite of what we call the Earth's geographic north and south poles. You may be thinking, why didn't we just call the South Pole the North Pole and the North Pole the South Pole? That would make sense, right? Well, the fact is that humans had already been referring to geographic north and geographic south for over 1,000 years before scientists realized the true orientation of our planet's magnetic field. And changing everything to reflect this new discovery would have been problematic, to say the least. Not to mention, it would have meant a huge logistical disruption for Santa Claus.
This is not good news.
Your compass is an extremely sensitive instrument. Imagine for a moment that you're trying to pay attention to an important YouTube video on how a compass works, when suddenly your cat runs frantically across your desk. Your attention's quickly diverted away, and you no longer are able to focus on the tutorial. Well, your compass is, let's say, trying to pay attention to Earth's magnetic fields. And in the same way that your focus was drawn away from your tutorial by your cat, your compass's focus can also be quickly drawn away as well. Even the smallest magnetic item, ferrous metal object, or nearby electromagnetic fields can cause your compass to not be able to focus on the Earth's magnetic field any longer. Items like watches, phones, some types of jewelry, two-way radios, and even belt buckles can affect the accuracy of your compass enough to cause big problems for you in the field. This 15-degree difference that you see here with my belt buckle will put me off track by over 250 meters after walking only a kilometer. 250 meters in the wilderness is a lot and can be difficult to recover from if you're not an experienced navigator. Make sure you're keeping these kinds of items away from your compass. If you're unsure whether an item may be affecting your compass, simply move your compass towards that item and see whether it begins to affect its performance. Take a look at what happens when I hold my compass in the same hand as my pen. Or while navigating with a wrist compass, I decide to plus up my track's accuracy a little by taking a more accurate reading once in a while with my baseplate. These kind of errors don't only occur when you're actually walking with the compass. Take a look at how planning on a table with metal screws, nails, or other ferrous hardware can set you up for failure long before you even get into the woods. Forgetting about your compass's vulnerabilities can introduce unrecognized error that can be difficult to identify. You don't need to hold your compass near your belt buckle every time you take a reading. You may have held your pen in the same hand as your compass only once while aligning your track. But taking even one 15-degree turn away from your azimuth can still put you off course. Compasses come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, as you can see here. And although the primary purpose of each of them is to indicate the direction to magnetic north, some compasses have been tweaked to excel in slightly different ways while still performing their primary task. Take a look at these compasses. While each one performs the same general function, they don't all go about it the same way. There's a reason why duck hunters use shotguns and snipers use rifles. At the end of the day, both weapons are designed to shoot a target, but get them confused and the user experience can be less than ideal. Some compasses like this military-issued M2 Pocket Transit from Brunton are designed for extreme accuracy. It is a precision instrument capable of very accurate measurements. And of course, it needs to be handled carefully. And while it can be used to navigate, it wasn't really designed for that purpose. But the Suunto wrist compass, on the other hand, is less about accuracy and more about speed, ease of use, and ruggedness. Between these two types of compasses lies a spectrum of compromises. As an outdoor enthusiast, you'll probably never need to use your compass to accurately fire an artillery round downrange. But on the other hand, trying to navigate through the wilderness with this might not be the best tool for the job either. Most of us will want a compromise between accuracy and ease of use. For land navigation and orienteering, compasses come in two main varieties, lensatic and baseplate. Lensatic compasses can be identified by a few key features. They're typically housed on a rugged, non-ferrous metal or plastic folding case. They most often employ a floating disc instead of a needle and are equipped with an adjustable magnifying lens that helps to read the degree markings on the floating disc. They're designed for sighting azimuths in the field and can be extremely accurate when used appropriately. They are a great compass for land navigation. In fact, the lensatic compass, in my opinion, takes a back seat to baseplate compasses only in the route planning process, when a compass and a map are being used together to determine direction of travel between points, especially when magnetic declination is involved. Baseplate compasses are specifically designed to simplify the map work process. They are called baseplate compasses because of the clear, flat plastic base that they are known for. This plastic base allows a user to lay the compass on a map and still be able to see the map details underneath. The base plate's usually marked with a ruler, and in many cases, with a scale for plotting grid coordinates. Good quality baseplate compasses, such as the Suunto MC-2G or the Silver Ranger 2.0, also offer users the ability to set and forget magnetic declination, greatly reducing the possibility of error related to making these calculations. Where baseplate compasses, in my opinion, take a backseat to lensatic compasses is in the ease and accuracy of shooting azimuths in the field. Asking which type of compass is better, though, is a little like asking what kind of car is better, or what kind of shoes are better. Well, are we playing soccer? Are we tap dancing? Or are we bowling? The best compass for a geologist or a surveyor will for sure be different than someone running an orienteering challenge or hiking through the woods. If you have experience using lensatic and baseplate compasses, let me know what your feelings are about the pros and cons of each in the comments below. In this course, the compromise I have chosen for us is the Suunto MC-2G. As you can see, the MC-2G is a baseplate compass. I chose this compass because I think it will flatten the learning curve a little bit for those of you who may just be starting out. Let's take a closer look at it now. Notice how the red north end of the needle is clearly indicated. And under the needle, you'll notice a smaller black arrow. This is a clinometer, which can be used to measure slope. Under the clinometer, you can see what Suunto calls the orienting arrow. It is the red arrow straddled at the top on both sides by two luminescent dots. This red arrow is sometimes referred to as the shed and is used to quickly align the magnetic needle by putting red in the shed once a direction of travel has been set. Left and right of the shed are two thin vertical red lines and one horizontal line which traverses the center of the compass. These lines are used together with the bezel ring, which is marked in degrees, as a protractor to determine angular measurements from true or grid north, depending on which of those orienteering lines you are using on your map. The base plate of the compass is graduated on the left in centimeters and on the right in inches. Below the bezel is the red direction of travel arrow, which points in the direction you should follow once an azimuth has been set and you have put red in the shed. Just below the direction of travel arrow is a plotter for plotting grids on a 1 to 25 or 1 to 50,000 scale map. At the top of the bezel ring, you can see a small triangular notch with a luminescent line on its center. This is what Suunto calls the bearing index line. Okay, an elephant just strolled into the room, and we should address him now so that he can at least feel like he's been acknowledged. There are different terms that are sometimes used inappropriately during navigation discussions. Depending on who you're listening to, you may hear the words bearing, heading, azimuth, track, course, and I'm sure there are others. In this course, we will be calling all of our angular measurements azimuths, since we will be referencing them from north or 0 degrees. And track we will use to describe the actual path that we walk once we have started moving through the wilderness. When everything is going well, our azimuth and our track should be the same. If, however, you're drifting off course, another term used to describe your intended path of travel, then there may develop a difference between our azimuth and our actual track. Since we're not learning air navigation, and I'm assuming none of you are going to walk through the wilderness sideways, we don't need to discuss heading, which is simply the way you are facing while moving along your azimuth or course. The appropriate use of the term heading becomes important when you're flying an airplane or sailing a boat, and while compensating for crosswinds, you have to point the nose of your aircraft or sailboat off course to maintain a track that will bring you to your intended finish point. But I'm going to assume that we all will be facing the way we're walking, and so if you hear me use the word heading when referring to your azimuth or your course, please realize that this is a land navigation class, and in nearly all cases, these terms can be interchanged without disrupting the world order. Let's get back to the MC-2G. As you can see here, there's also a small magnifying glass in the base plate, which is great for inspecting small symbols or fonts on the map, and can theoretically be used to start a fire as well. I'm sure one of the first things you noticed, and what drove me to absolutely have to buy this compass, is the mirror, which is great for checking to make sure you don't have anything in your teeth after lunch, and reapplying your lipstick, but can also be used to signal your location if necessary. It's claimed by Suunto to also be helpful in aligning the compass when shooting azimuths in the field. More on that later. On the sides of the cover are some markings that look a bit like a weird ruler. These are used in the route planning stages to estimate slope angles in conjunction with your contour lines before you're actually in a position where you could use the clinometer. Now, the real selling feature of this compass, in my opinion, has to be observed from the back, and that's the ability to adjust for magnetic declination. This single feature will make your map and compass experience much more enjoyable, since you won't need to remember the process for calculating declination. It's a feature I specifically wanted to have for this class, and one that I recommend that you insist on having if you're planning to buy something new. We will cover magnetic declination in depth in the next block of instruction. Some of these bells and whistles we won't be using in this course, but I may cover in future video shorts. There are links in the description to the compass pages for Suunto and Silva. Silva makes a fantastic compass known as the Ranger 2.0. And for those of you in the United States, the Silva compass includes a 1 to 25,000 and 1 to 50,000 scale like the Suunto, but also a 1 to 24,000 scale that Suunto has neglected to include on the MC-2G. This makes it much more attractive for anyone who will be using a 1 to 24,000 scale map. Compasses may vary in design and practicality, but at the end of the day, their purpose is all the same, which is to indicate the direction to magnetic north. All the fancy options that can be found on compasses today are simply exploitations of this single fact. Luminescent bezel rings graduated in 360 degrees, coordinate plotters, rulers, clinometers, magnifying lenses, and so forth are all add-ons that have made the use of compasses more practical and efficient over the years. I bring this up simply to say, once you learn compass basics, you've learned compass basics for all kinds of compasses. Please don't think that because we're using a baseplate compass in this course, that if someone handed you a lensatic compass, you'd suddenly be lost. The basic principles I'm teaching you can be applied across the entire range of compasses. Once you understand them, you will be able to pick up any compass and within a few minutes become proficient with it. Once again, you should not spend a ton of money on a compass yet. If you don't already have a baseplate compass, but you do have a lensatic compass, and you don't want to invest in or learn the baseplate kind, then please continue on with us anyway, because the compass is only a small part of this course. There are plenty of concepts and topics that you will likely be interested in that don't require you to have a baseplate compass in your hand to appreciate. If you are continuing with me with a lensatic compass, and you have questions about how to perform a task that I'm teaching with the baseplate, then contact me in the comments or directly, and I'll do my best to coach you through it. I spent my entire military career using a lensatic compass. They are great tools. Don't give it up just yet. So, it's time to conquer magnetic declination and learn what it means to orient a map. Now dig your compass out of that old shoebox or rucksack and meet me in block 5, where we will continue to build our confidence with skills and build those skills through training.